What's up, YouTube Gen X? What should I start on this one? Okay. I'm having a conversation yesterday, and, I'm explaining to this girl where you have your level of confidence, like where it comes from a lot of your black men who get it. Now, she's a believer that it's simply because the numbers aren't in our favor, which I can't say is not true. Knowing that there's not too many brothers who are doing what you're doing does add to your level of confidence, but it's more than just that. And I was telling her that, listen, we understand our competition. So it doesn't matter how many black men are not on point. When we look at the women that we want, we understand that she's going after a certain type of dude. So truth be told, it's not about how I stack up against your not on point black men. It's about how I stack up with other black men of caliber. And if she's into that, non-black men of caliber. That's, right, who my competition is. So it's not about how I stack up with your cats on the street. It's about how I stack up with the other men in the office building. So if I'm thinking to myself, okay, what makes me stand out? What quality should I highlight? That's what I have in mind. And I'm not going to get into those qualities, for my brothers who get it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. There's certain, not even secrets, but there's certain information that, I want to keep close to the chest or whatever. But we know. So we're not going to come through and say, I don't have a record, or I can put together a complete sentence, or I have a job. What does that mean if there's other men of caliber around? What does that mean? But more than likely, all of us have a job. All of us don't have a record, or all of us are moving in a certain direction. So why would I highlight that? So like I said, we understand this better than how it works for y'all. So when you look at why we're confident, that is part of what makes us confident. So I can walk into a room and know that there's other men of caliber in here, and I can sit back and say, okay, well, this is how I stack up against them. Right? These are the qualities that I want to highlight. These are the qualities that I want to put out there, based off of the fact that, hey, these men are on the same playing field. This is what we do, as opposed to y'all who don't do that. Here's what you guys do in terms of black women. You take black women that are not in your league, and you say, this is how I match up against them. Now, when you look at the men that you want, whether they're black men or non-black men, to be real with you, does that matter? No, because you're not going for those women. So how you stack up against those women is almost irrelevant. It's about how you stack up against other black women of caliber and non-black women of caliber. So how do you stand out against that group? And this is what you guys don't do. So when you're put in a position where it's understood that, yo, this is the guy I want, but these are the type of chicks that this guy is going for, you have this sort of, I don't know what to do. How do I stand out? So let me cross my fingers and just leave everything up to luck. And you have a lot of dudes that are like, she's cool, but how is she different from the pack? How does she set herself apart? And a lot of the times you don't have that answer. You don't know how to sell yourself. Because once again, you've put your sort of what makes me quality in a position where it only holds up against women who, quite frankly, these types of men aren't checking for regardless of their race. It is what it is. And I'll keep on saying it. Go ahead and run across a black woman and say, hey, what makes you quality? And I guarantee you she's going to say, I have a job, I don't have any kids, I'm classy, this, that, and the third. And you're sitting back and you're like, well, how does that set you apart from other black women of caliber? How does that set you apart from non-black women of caliber? And it doesn't. So that tells you who they're going up against, which is a big waste of time, because once again, the men that they're more than likely going to be checking for aren't checking for the women that they have used. I don't care what your hood queen is doing. I don't care what your doo-doo mama is doing, or whatever you call those types of women based off of what region you're from. I don't really care. But if you've based what makes you quality off of them, you fuck yourself over. Like, once again, if I'm a man and I made the mistake of running to that sort of, well, this is what makes me better than non-on-point black men, what's going to happen? I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to become aware that, oh shit, this is my competition. And I'm going to sit back and say, damn, what I was running to before doesn't hold up here. All these cats have jobs. All these cats are doing well. All these cats are moving in a certain direction. I ain't got nothing to stand on. So my confidence will shrivel up. And this is what's happening with y'all. When you run into that situation where, okay, now you're going up against other women of caliber. Like I said before, the biggest competition that black women have is other black women of caliber. So let's stop with the sort of, it's the white girl, it's the biracial girl. It's other black women of caliber. How do you stack up against them? How do you stack up against your sorority sisters, your co-workers, or whatever? Don't come through and tell me it's because you don't have any kids. You're classy. You're not on Section 8 or whatever. What the fuck does that mean? So once again, when you understand what your competition is, you have that, let me shrivel right up. Because I've never thought about what makes me stand out against other women of caliber. So you're not going to have that element of confidence. And you're going to sit back and, once again, like I said before, cross your fingers and hope that you get chosen. I hope I'm the lucky one today. For brothers, we don't really leave it up to luck. All the brothers here are the same. Let me cross my fingers. No, I've said, let me think about what makes me stand out amongst this group. Right? It's like going on a job interview where you know that, man, people are hella qualified. Right? So I can't be conventional here. I can't say, hey, I had a 4.0 GPA. Right? When everybody had a 4.0 GPA. You're going to have to dig deeper, be more creative, do more self-reflecting, which doesn't happen. So I was explaining this to her, and she fought me on it, but then she got it, because I said, hey, if I asked you what makes you quality, and lo and behold, what did she run to? What did she run to? I'm not even saying that this is what you have to say as a black woman. I'm saying that what hurts y'all is that you fail to take a time to think about, out of other women of caliber, to include black women, what makes me so different? What makes me so unique? Why do I stand out? Why should I be chosen? And you don't have that. So when the time comes, when you're placed in that situation where it's clear that, hey, these are the women that the men are going for, maybe it's some kickback, maybe it's some party, maybe it's some event where you're looking at the other women around and you're like, okay, right, these women, quite frankly, are my equals. You have this element of, this is how I fold. And you can see, I've been in situations where, you have, your hood queens, and you have the small handful of women who aren't in that category at all. You can see the confidence, the way they parade around, their disposition, the way they're commanding the scene, looking at men. I've seen it all. And you sit back and you're like, okay, I see how they stand out now, but let's switch it up now. Right, let the brothers control the dynamics of the population where you have other women of caliber. What happens? Sitting down, quiet, arms folded, hope somebody comes approaches me or whatever. And it's like, why is that? Is it because of numbers? That's what y'all will say. Oh, it's because of numbers. And I'm saying, no, not so much. It's because you don't know what makes you stand out. Because I guarantee, if you've taken the time to understand how you stand out against other women of caliber, right, you would be on some different shit. Right? You would definitely have a disposition that's saying, hey, come holler at me, or come engage in conversation with me, because at the end of the day, you'll see what makes me different. And that's what brothers are looking for. How is she different? And like I said, this is where a lot of sisters fall off. And this is the shit that opens up the door for a lot of your non-black women that are exclusively into dating black men. Right? This is what hurts when they sit back and they understand how I have to sell myself, or what qualities I have to highlight. I'm not going to come through and, tell him that, I'm not a baby mama, or I'm not on Section 8. So how do I sell myself if I'm competing against other black women? Because like I said before, that shit is there, right? I've talked to chicks, one in particular, where that was her biggest insecurity. What about the other black women who are doing what I'm doing? So she was always concerned about how she measured up with them. She wasn't worried about what your hood queens were doing or what your lower-end Hispanic women were doing. So when it came time to selling herself, she knew what to do, which I will always give her credit for. For all her flaws or whatever, I could never take that away from her. Versus your good black chicks who you sit there and you're like, man, she has a lot of potential, but she doesn't know how to sell herself. What qualities does she have? She's sitting back and just crossing her fingers and hoping, and you sit back and you're like, she's never thought about it. She's never thought about how she stacks up against other black women of caliber. Never. And you can see that in her body language, you can see that in her disposition, you can see that in her mannerisms or whatever. And depending on who you are, that could be attractive or non-attractive. And for me, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to take away points. I'm going to take away points because that tells me where your head is at. This is why we have this big ego problem amongst black women right now. You want to talk about black men being arrogant? Fuck all that. Right? You know, I see more well-to-do black women who are arrogant as hell simply because they want to look at what lower-end black women are doing. Men, in general, I think we know that, hey, in terms of what makes you quality as a man, you know, we have, ours is more so absolute as opposed to what makes you quality for a black man or a white man. You understand that a lot of the times this is coming down to, you know, how much money you're playing with. You know, what sort of lifestyle are you living? That's just what it comes down to. Right? But for a lot of y'all, I mean, you can feel it. I mean, I can't think of the last time I've had a conversation where I have a chick telling me what makes her quality, and I'm like, damn, you're on some different shit. It's always been the typical rhetoric. No kids. Classy. Right? I have a job. I'm not on Section 8. This, that, and the third. I have standards or whatever. And you sit back and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. What makes you think that I care about what the hood queen is doing? And the dumb part about it is you have certain black women that will be quick to call a brother out for doing the same shit that they're doing, as they should. FYI, for any black woman out there, let some brother come up on you on some quality and it looks like he's only going up against lower end black men. Hey, kick him to the curb. Move on. Don't think that I'm going to choose you because you're better than Tyrone on the block or whatever. Yeah, kick his ass to the curb. I agree with you. He should be worried about how he stacks up against other men, including black men of caliber, doing well. Not about what the hood nigga is doing or whatever. So that's my video. Y'all take it easy. God bless. Y'all know where to find me.